I've seen a lot of solo players struggling to thrive on officials, so I wanted to make this video to give you all a better fighting chance. This top 5 best dinos for solos list will exclude full aquatics, flyers, and small playables like Struth, Latin, Campto, etc., because I want to cover dinos that have more than just extreme escapability as their strong suit. There are several candidates that almost made the cut, like Dinochirus, Steer, Meg, and Conch, and some that would have absolutely made it if they didn't get devastated by nerfs. Kentro, I'm looking at you. But I felt the dinos that actually made it onto the list really deserve to be there. So here are the top 5 best dinos for solo players on officials. At number 5, we have Pycno. Pycno excels at hit and run style combat with the ability to constantly stay mobile. With its good speed and fantastic stamina drain rate, it can stay in fights for a pretty long time. It also boasts one of the best walking speeds in the entire game, so you can easily cover large distances while regenerating stamina at the same time. While Pycno is good at hunting smaller opponents and staying alive, it has a much harder time punching above its weight class, so don't expect to have an easy time with larger opponents. With the recent changes to charge, it's also lost some of its DPS, but it fortunately received a health buff to compensate. If you haven't heard about the changes to the charge mechanics, check out the video linked above. Because Pycno struggles more when fighting larger dinos, and because of its recent nerfs, it falls at the number 5 spot on this list. I'm going to be including recommended builds for solo players for every dino on this list, but we're not going to go in depth on how to utilize them today because I want to keep this video brief. Feel free to pause the video and screenshot the builds if you'd like. Here is the build I would recommend running for Pycno. At number 4, we have Cerato. Even with the recent nerfs to Thrash and Armored Tail, Cerato is still a nice pick for solos because it can output a really good amount of DPS with its hit and run playstyle. Charge Bite and Kick fit the hit and run playstyle perfectly, both boasting high damage, and the default bite is fantastic for tail riding opponents that give you the opportunity to do so. Previously, Thrash would have taken the place of default bite, but with the huge cooldown added to Thrash, it's no longer worth running. Cerato has decent escapability with its speed, jump, and nerfed Armored Tail, but just be sure to keep an eye out on the stamina bar because it drains a little faster than other dinos around its weight class. For this reason, and the nerfs to Thrash and Armored Tail, it takes the number 4 spot on this list. Here is the recommended build for Cerato. At number 3, we have Sucho. With the right build, Sucho can be an extremely deadly opponent on both land and water alike, and can hold its own against multiple players at once, which is why it takes the number 3 spot on this list. It's extremely fast for a dino with 5,000 combat weight, has pretty good stamina drain and recovery rates, great DPS, and great escapability being a semi-aquatic. A 5-stack Claw Barrage can output extremely high DPS and shred through many dinos in a matter of seconds. The water abilities Sucho has access to, like Drench Blows, Paddle Tail, and the Streamline Hide, can boost its speed and damage, helping it excel in water combat scenarios as well. Sucho would have easily taken the number 2 spot on this list if our number 2 candidate wasn't such a pain to kill. Overall, Sucho remains a very strong pick and a fantastic option for solo players looking for a larger, well-rounded dino that can hold its own on land and water. Here is the build I would recommend running for Sucho. At number 2, we have Anno. Anno, with Hunker Down in its current state, is nearly unkillable. Its only real weakness is to being picked up by a Sarco because of the changes to Hunker Down. For those of you who may have missed it, knockback attacks no longer knock an Anno out of Hunker, which means that all the previous methods for uprooting a hunkered Anno no longer work. With these changes, plus Anno's extreme defensive capabilities, Bone Break, and good damage output, it's a very formidable foe. Just don't expect to be running down and killing anything on Anno unless you land a Bone Break. Anno is very slow. If you do manage to hit a Bone Break though, you'll have the easiest kill of your life, provided you aren't fighting a Mega Pack. And even if you get caught by a Mega Pack, they'll most likely give up if you drop into Hunker and keep that tail pointed at any potential threat. Just make sure to keep your Anno topped off on food and water constantly, and especially before you enter a larger fight. Succumbing to starvation or dehydration is often your biggest concern on Anno, which is why it takes the number 2 spot for solo players on this list. Here is the recommended build for Anno. And at number 1, we have Achillo. Even with the recent damage nerf to its claw attack, Achillo is still capable of outputting really solid DPS, especially with abilities like Raptor Strikes. It's got good maneuverability, fantastic escapability with its jump, pounce, and kick, and a stamina pool that outweighs pretty much every dino around its size. Not to mention, if you find yourself in a pinch, there is literally an ability that restores about a quarter of your stamina on the go. Achillo thrives at hit and run playstyles against larger opponents and can easily tail ride smaller foes to death as well. Achillo is my personal favorite dino for solos solos because of its good damage and extreme survivability versus larger groups. Going against huge groups and coming away with kills is actually very likely with Achillo because its great stamina drain rates allow you to stay in the fight for much longer and escape easily when needed. I feel much more comfortable about my survival chances fighting huge groups on Achillo than I do on any other dino, which is why it takes the #1 spot on this list. Here is Achillo's recommended build for solos. I'd be happy to make combat guides on any of these dinos in the future if you all would find this helpful. I just didn't include them in this video because we would have wound up with about a 40-minute video if I broke down each dino's fighting style. Anyhow, I hope you all enjoyed. I've been your host Conware, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.
This is for YouTube. Hi, Mom.
You have to put that in. You have to give that guy his hi, Mom.